Hey, welcome to my lab. So this here is my Rev 2 fish feeder, and it feeds fish, and it does it pretty well, if I do say so myself. It's been feeding my fish actually for 3 weeks. It took me a while to make this video, but I went away and my fish are still alive, which is great. I made 3 of these for 3 different tanks, and it's a bit better than my Rev 1 in that it's much easier to assemble. Rev 1 required some bearings and a drill bit acting like an auger to push food over a hole. This mechanism is a bit different. It just has a simple 3D printed drum with a hole in it, and it turns kind of like a gumball dispenser. So let's just dive into the design and maybe we can learn something. Maybe not. This is just a random YouTube video. But as always, I digress. This is the interface here. It took a while to fit everything on this OLED screen. But what you see here is there's multiple feed times. You can choose to feed more than once per day if your tank requires it. And the feed amount is done in rotations. So on each rotation, some food falls into a little hole in a cylinder, and then that gets dispensed. And you can choose how much food to feed out by just returning the drum more, basically. So we can see those options here. And then you can set your feed times separately. You can also manual feed, and there's an EEPROM to save your settings, which is great. So there's a real-time clock on here, so when you set the time of day, if your power goes out, it still remembers the feed times and the time now, which is great. And everything's great. I keep saying great too much. Bam! What are these? These are printed circuit boards. This is a little bit of B-roll. I actually didn't record too much while populating the boards. But yeah, you can see me do some drag soldering here. Bam, look at that. You can't see the bridged solder and all the frustration with trying to figure out how to get the wick to not stick to the pin and mess everything up. But yeah, it went well. You're just going to have to take my word for it. Okay, so schematic time. Here's the stepper driver, and it's quite simple. It's those ULN 2003 little stepper driver boards that you find with those 28 BYJ 48 stepper motors. Very low power. It does the job. I could have just used one of those little breakout modules, but I decided to integrate it on the PCB just to be clean. We have some memory here. This EEPROM chip keeps knowledge of how much to feed, the feed times, just in case power is removed. It can boot up and remember these things, all the settings. The real-time clock, same thing. If power fails, the time now is kept, as well as the feed times can be compared to the time now, so that you don't start feeding the fish at like 3 a.m. when the tank is pitch black. Here we have the OLED, very simple I2C. It's a 0.96 inch OLED display. The buttons, I really kind of went bare on this. Usually I put hardware pull-up resistors and a little capacitor for some debouncing, but I did all the debouncing and pull-ups in software. Have not had an issue with that. The power input, I fuse everything. I could have gone lower with the fuse rating, but this is a really low power device. Nothing really bad can happen in this circumstance. 5 volt comes in, it gets brought down to 3.3 through a linear regulator. No need for a DC to DC converter here. Linear is fine. And the heart of the whole thing is an STM32L051. I like these little chips. They are cheap. They have a lot of interfaces for just little projects like this, and did the job great. I didn't even really technically need to use an external crystal. I could have used the internal RC oscillator, but when in Rome, or in this case Canada, use an external oscillator. I don't know where I was going with that, but there's the schematic. Looks cool. There's a buzzer. It beeps. It makes sound. Sound is cool. And there's lights. Little blinky things are also cool. And yeah, the UART provision's good. If you want to debug, you can plug a serial interface in, but I do debugging through the programming header anyways most of the time. For the mechanical part, let's just say I now have an intolerance to tolerance, because coming up with the tolerance values to have the drum slide very easily in the housing without having a gap too big where food gets stuck inside was not easy, but it was also unsuccessful. But the cool thing is, as food gets kind of crammed in there and the whole thing spins, it turns into like a paste, which is almost like lubing itself. So, the downside ended up being an upside. let's just hide the circuit right now. There we go. So the red thing is obviously our motor. Here we have the hopper where food goes in. Let's just hide the lid right now. There we go. So food fills into there. And where does it go? Well, you can see here we have a little drum, this little cylinder with just an indent. And I tuned that for the amount of feed that I usually pinch off and put into my smallest tank. And then for the bigger tank, I just, in the program on my controller, I just choose how many times to spin, and that's the dosage. So I can rotate this, 2 or 3 times and feed more for a bigger tank. If we hide the motor mount, or actually let's not hide it yet. So we can see here, food is kind of sitting in here, and the drum turns, and then when it makes a half rotation, food will fall out the bottom and feed the fish. And I like this because if power cuts out at any point, food will not continue to fall out of here. Some feeding mechanisms have like a trap door that opens and then a servo closes it or something. But if that gets stuck open, it's just going to dump everything, right? So having something like this, it's kind of like a valve in that at any point, if this gets stuck, or if the stepper motor, let's say, loses steps, if your program just spins 360, then it doesn't matter if this drum is sideways. Once a full rotation is made, the hole will pass through the hopper area and get filled, and it will dump off. So I like this design a lot. I think it's pretty elegant. The only thing I would change is this housing uses a lot of plastic. I don't have a lot of infill in here when I 3D print it, but still maybe I could do something to optimize. Maybe cut some airy holes in there. By far my favorite part of this assembly was putting in these heat pressed inserts, these threaded inserts for M3 hardware. It was a lot of fun, I gotta say. I have an old iron that I dedicate specifically just for pressing these in, and I never get bored of it. Look at that. It just slides. Oh, that's so good. Okay, so let's take a cold shower now and do the rest of the assembly. Here we go. Look at it going together. I changed the colors a lot on the PLA because I've made 3 of these, and I've just been using whatever filament I have, and I was just kind of running some old spools down to use them up. So yeah, the colors changed, but who cares? And I didn't go over the software for this project because it's messy and it's super simple. Like, all we're doing is comparing the time. Is the feed time the time now? And if it is, spin the motor, and that's pretty much all there is to it. And then there's some code just to interact with the buttons and have the screen display the certain menus for like setting the time now and the rotations. But it's pretty straightforward, and there's so many tutorials online for flashing code that writes things to these OLED screens. It uses the Adafruit library, that GFX library. And yeah, there's not much to say about the code part of this project. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. The only thing maybe next time is I'll put like a front faceplate on this thing to cover the electronics, but I do like how they're exposed like that. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching, and if you want to subscribe, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to click like, you can go ahead and do that. And if you don't want to do either of those things, then you can go ahead and do that. All right, take care.